This is a real quick video for an owner who wants to verify resistances and voltages in his coil circuit, his ignition coil circuit. He's running stock ignition, so I'm going to be using a stock ignition module. The first thing I'm going to take a look at are the resistances in the resistor grid and the coil itself. I'm going to verify the leads, and it looks like my leads are currently putting up about 0.2 ohms of resistance, so I will subtract 0.2 ohms of resistance from each measurement. I'm going to start by looking at the resistor grid. Each resistor is supposed to be 0.5 ohms of resistance. So my resistor grid is close enough. Total resistance through the grid is about an ohm. And then the ignition coil itself is about 0.5 to 0.7 ohms. I've seen both measurements mentioned. I've seen both 0.5 and 0.7 ohms. What you want to verify is that you're not either zero resistance or an extremely low resistance, which would indicate that the insulative layer on the wiring has abraded and you now have a short circuit inside your coil. And of course you don't want infinite resistance, because that means that your coil no longer conducts electricity all the way through it. Well, now let's take a look at the voltages. I've got a temporary white wire here because I'm using this coil. So going into the resistor grid, I have battery voltage. On the far side of the resistor grid, I'm getting a little bit less than 5 volts. I've always heard 6 to 8 volts, 6 volts battery, 8 volt running. But going into the coil, I've got a little bit less than 5 volts. And then on the modules side of the coil, I've got about 2 volts. Unlike breaker point ignition, the negative side of the coil will not be totally grounded. Because of the circuitry inside the ignition module, you're going to have a couple of volts on the negative side. If this was breaker point, it would be grounded directly to the chassis, and you wouldn't have any voltage on the negative side. And I should mention that I am currently got my Bosch ignition module plugged up. I ordinarily run a Motorcraft ignition module, but I've got the Bosch module plugged up. So these are stock measurements: a stock ignition coil, a stock resistor grid, and a stock ignition module.